Rain in the forecast across parts of San Diego County. The area is getting hit the hardest and how long it could last.
Plus, new details tonight about that massive oil spill off the Orange County coastline, what authorities think may have caused it, and the chances the oil makes it to San Diego's waters.
And a local teenager leading an effort to get shoes to those in developing countries. We'll tell you what inspired his Positively San Diego story.
ABC 10 News at 6 starts now.
The man who opened fire inside this church's chicken is headed to prison for the rest of his life. A jury convicted Albert Blake on all counts in connection with the rampage at the South Bay restaurant. Thank you for joining us. I'm Kimberly Hunt.
And I'm Steve Atkinson. Our ABC 10 News reporter Rachel Bianco is live at the courthouse where the jury just delivered the verdict after deliberating less than a day. Rachel.
Steve, the jury got the case late Thursday and had a decision by Friday. It was read this morning, and one of the survivors of that shooting told us he is grateful for justice.
The defendant, Albert Lee Blake, intentionally and personally discharged a firearm, approximately caused great bodily injury and death to a person.
Maribel Ibanez was a 28-year-old newlywed. She was just an hour into her shift as a manager at this church's chicken when prosecutors say Albert Blake murdered her and shot two of her co-workers. Mario Rojas was shot twice and is now permanently disabled.
But thank God that I'm here, and I'm so happy for the justice.
What he calls justice was delivered Monday morning by a jury convicting Blake on counts of murder and attempted murder in the shootings at this Otay Mesa restaurant nearly 2 years ago. Rojas says he'll never forget the look on Blake's face as he opened fire.
He didn't show any emotions. He stayed in front of me and started shooting me. After that, he shot my manager. He was a great lady, and the other employed.
Prosecutors say Blake tried to use a counterfeit $100 bill to buy food, but was denied by Ibanez. They say he left, went to his car, came back, and started shooting. Police arrested him 2 weeks later across the country in Tennessee. Investigators used images of Blake's car through smart streetlight cameras. They also relied on cell phone evidence, counterfeit bills with Blake's fingerprints on them, and gunshot residue found on the car's steering wheel and gear shift. The defense argued there was no forensic evidence such as DNA or fingerprints tying Blake to the restaurant. The family of the woman who was killed was also here this morning, but they were too emotional to talk with the media. Blake faces a mandatory life sentence when he is back in court here on November 2nd. Reporting live in Chula Vista, Rachel Bianco, ABC 10 News.
Thank you, Rachel. And two men are now charged in connection to a sex abuse case involving San Diego's Christian Youth Theater, or CYT. The ABC 10 News investigative team first broke this story about sex allegations last summer. And a warning, some of this information is graphic and viewers may find it disturbing. Today, the DA's office announced charges against 40-year-old Brad Davis and 34-year-old David Hott. They are accused of abusing a 16-year-old and a 13-year-old several times in incidents years ago. And if convicted, Davis faces up to 3 years in prison. Hott faces 10 years. We spoke to one of the advocates for the victims about the news of the charges.
Knowing that these victims have come forward and made their case known, I'm just very proud of them for taking the amount of time and emotional energy and strength that it really takes to go through this process is very difficult.
Each is being held on $100,000 bail.
Well, some wet weather is hitting parts of San Diego County, and more could be on the way. Our meteorologist Angelica Campos joins us for what the conditions look like right now. Angelica.
Hi, Steve. We have a pretty well-defined area of thunderstorms right now, everything in the East County, but it's been all over the place through the course of the afternoon. We've seen rain near the coast, areas like Oceanside and Encinitas, at least through the afternoon. But right now, it is actually from Dulzura all the way up towards Alpine and then also in the Palma Valley area. So let's get a little bit closer to each of these thunderstorms. So you can see right here, this is moving now into Lakeside. Everything is moving north. So if you're in the path, that's exactly where it's headed. This thunderstorms is carrying heavy rainfall, so flash flooding could potentially potentially be a concern. But you can see how this will be impacting portions of the 8 from Granite Hills all the way towards Alpine, and then this one in Dolzora. You can't even see any of the cities here because of those lightning strikes. Up to the north into the Palma Valley area, this is actually starting to pull north, and the moisture is coming from the south moving north. We'll see bands of additional thunderstorms through the nighttime, at least for right now. The coast is taking a break, but we'll see more activity tonight and into tomorrow morning. I'll break it all down and I'll show you what the temperatures will look like because we're in for a cool down.
That we are. Thanks, Angelica. Stay on top of any new developments with the weather by downloading our 10 News app. A free version is available in the App Store.
Now to the latest on the massive oil spill disaster to our north. Authorities are now looking into whether a ship anchor struck an underwater pipeline, which could have caused it. That spill began over the weekend in Orange County. 127,000 gallons of crude oil went into the Pacific Ocean. It's devastated some wildlife there and forced beach closures.
We have examined more than 8,000 feet of pipe. And we have isolated one specific area of significant interest. We did this primarily through ROV to this point, but we are sending divers down now to verify some what we are seeing via the ROV. There's more information to come, but I think we're moving very closely to a source and a cause of this incident.
SeaWorld San Diego has been placed on standby and is prepared to house animals that have been impacted by the oil spill. Meantime, San Diego County's Office of Emergency Services has boots on the ground near the spill, preparing for what could be coming. Eric Terrell is the director of the Coastal Ocean Research and Development Center at the Scripps Institution of Oceanography, and he says it's too early to tell if the oil will make its way down to San Diego.
The dynamics of the ocean, the water is always in movement. And so things that are discharged in the ocean quickly get under the effects of the ocean currents and get transported. And so it's very typical for like in an oil spill situation for that to start dispersing itself along the coastline under the whim of the way the currents are pushing it.
There's no estimate on how long it could take to clean up the spill, but Terrell says that calm waters should give crews an edge.
California treatment centers are now required to have drugs approved for the treatment of an opioid overdose on hand. Governor Gavin Newsom signed that measure into law today. It was supported by San Diego County District Attorney Summer Stephan. That new law mandates treatment facilities to maintain on premises at least 2 doses of naloxone or a similar drug. It also requires a staff member to be on the premises who has been trained on how to administer it as well. And now to the latest COVID numbers in our county. 390 new infections were reported today. 9 more San Diegans, sadly, have lost their lives to this virus.
When did we get to the point where literally listening to your pediatrician became something that we turned into something that is ideological and partisan?
That was County Supervisor Nathan Fletcher today, talking about a new plan to have doctors fact-check COVID misinformation at board meetings. Last month, the county declared misinformation a public health emergency. ABC 10 News anchor Lindsay Pena explains how the county is using the doctors and a new website to debunk false claims surrounding the pandemic.
First, it was a vote by the San Diego County Board of Supervisors to declare health misinformation a public health crisis. Now the county is taking it a step further and putting together a panel of doctors to fact-check things said at meetings.
The First Amendment gives people the right to say things that are vulgar and profane and untrue. And nothing we're doing will infringe on that First Amendment right. But we have to get in the fight of trying to provide people with what their doctors know is the most up-to-date and relevant information as it relates to COVID.
County Supervisor Nathan Fletcher, who introduced the policy on misinformation, says the panel will consist of 4 doctors from Sharp, UC San Diego Health, Family Health Centers, and Rady Children's.
They will meet amongst themselves. They will find what they think were the most egregious examples. They will also prepare sources of information for the public. And then the next day, they will do their own presentation.
The county also has a new website dedicated to misinformation, with sections like finding credible sources and claims and facts. Fletcher says it's part of the effort to proactively use their platform.
I know that there's nothing we can do that is going to persuade everyone, but if there is one life that gets saved, then it's worth it.
Lindsay Pena, ABC 10 News.
And the doctors will have their first presentation after tomorrow's County Board of Supervisors meeting. You can also go to san-diego-county.gov to check out the new section countering misinformation.
Also tonight, Johnson & Johnson is looking to get FDA authorization for its booster shot. The drug maker is planning to request approval this week, according to officials familiar with the company's plans. More than 15 million Americans have gotten the J&J single-dose vaccine. The company recently released data showing that a second shot of its vaccine increased its effectiveness to 94% against moderate to severe COVID cases. The FDA is already set to meet in less than 2 weeks to discuss whether to approve the J&J booster.
For the first time, an independent group will be redrawing San Diego County districts. And the group is beginning the process of drawing those maps. The commission is made up of registered Democrats, Republicans, and no party preference. The district maps get redrawn every 10 years based on the census. And the goal is to split districts up fairly without dividing cities, neighborhoods, and communities of interest. The commission will share its first draft of the options at a public meeting October 14th.